Allow the poor and dirty thing into this thing, enter this place.
The gas came first. It rippled through the grand wedding hall like a sudden wind, cutting through the soft violin music and freezing every conversation mid-breath. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead, their golden light bouncing off marble floors polished so perfectly they reflected the silk gowns and tuxedos of the elite gathered inside. At the center of it all, she stood, an elderly woman. Her clothes were rough, dirt-stained, and visibly worn. The fabric clung loosely to her thin frame, frayed at the edges, patched in places where time had eaten through. Her gray hair was unkempt, curling tightly against her scalp, and her shoes, once black, had faded into a tired brown. She did not belong here, or so everyone thought. Two large security guards stood on either side of her, each gripping one of her arms firmly. Not violently, but with enough force to make it clear she was not leaving by choice. Her feet shuffled forward slowly as they guided her toward the massive glass doors at the far end of the hall. Her face was wide with shock, not fear. Shock. Her eyes darted around the room, taking in the hundreds of faces staring at her, some curious, some disgusted, others quietly entertained. Her mouth trembled open slightly, as if words were trapped somewhere deep inside her chest, but couldn't find their way out. Behind her, the groom's voice rang out sharply. "Get her out." The words were cold, final. He stood tall in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, diamond cufflinks glinting at his wrists. His posture was rigid, his jaw clenched, one finger extended as he pointed toward the exit like a judge passing sentence. "This is my wedding," he snapped. "I won't have some filthy stranger ruin it." The bride beside him clutched her bouquet tightly, her face pale. She said nothing. The guests whispered louder now. "Who is she? How did she even get in? Is this some kind of stunt?" The elderly woman's knees weakened for just a second as the guards urged her forward again. She caught herself, steadying her breath. Her chest rose and fell slowly, deliberately, as though she were gathering herself, not to resist, but to endure. Humiliation burned hotter than any pain. She lowered her gaze briefly, shame washing over her in heavy waves. Not because of her clothes, not because of where she stood, but because of who was ordering her out. The doors grew closer. Each step echoed. Then, she lifted her head, and everything changed. But before we continue, welcome to Read Lovers. If you love powerful stories filled with drama, hidden truths, and unforgettable twists, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us as we dive deeper into today's story. Because this was only the beginning. The elderly woman's name was Miriam Adeyemi. No one in that hall recognized it. Not the politicians sipping champagne near the stage. Not the CEOs laughing softly near the windows. Not even the groom himself, who had built his entire empire standing on the foundation she laid decades ago. Miriam had once been feared in boardrooms, respected in silence, and forgotten on purpose. 42 years earlier, the company now celebrated as a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate was nothing more than a dusty warehouse and a woman with a vision. Miriam had poured her youth into it, her savings, her strength, her brilliance. She had hired the first engineers, negotiated the first contracts, signed the first documents with hands that never trembled. But Miriam had been invisible in a world that preferred loud men in sharp suits. So when she grew older, when illness slowed her steps and time softened her voice, she did what powerful people often do when they grow tired of the spotlight. She stepped back, quietly, legally. She transferred operations, appointed executives, placed her ownership into trusts and holding companies, layers upon layers of protection. She retained control not through appearances, but through signatures and silence. And then she vanished from the public eye. The groom, Daniel Hawthorne, had never met her, but everything he owned answered to her name. Miriam had come to the wedding for one reason. Not revenge, not recognition. She had received a letter 2 weeks earlier. Formal, brief, and carelessly worded. informing her that her final voting rights would be reviewed and potentially dissolved due to inactivity. Daniel wanted full control. He didn't know who stood in his way. So Miriam came to see him, to look him in the eye, to decide whether he deserved mercy. Instead, she was being thrown out. The guards stopped at the doors. "Ma'am," one of them muttered, clearly uncomfortable now. "We're almost there." Miriam nodded faintly. That was when a voice cut through the hall. "Stop!" It didn't come from a groom. It came from a back. A man in a gray suit pushed through the crowd, his face drained of color, eyes locked on the elderly woman as if he'd seen a ghost. The guards hesitated. Daniel scoffed. "Who is this now?" The man swallowed hard. "Sir, we need to talk." "Not now," Daniel snapped. "Handle your guest." "She's not a guest," the man whispered. "She's—" Miriam finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but carried. "You may let go now." The guards froze. Something in her tone, steady, unafraid, made them release her arms almost instinctively. Miriam straightened slowly. Her shoulders relaxed. The shame faded from her eyes, replaced by something far heavier. Authority. She turned to Daniel, and for the first time, he really looked at her. Not her clothes. Her eyes. They were sharp, intelligent, unbroken. "I came here to see the man who now runs my company," she said calmly. "I see I was mistaken." The room went silent. Daniel laughed once, nervously. "Your company?" The man in the gray suit stepped forward again, voice shaking now. "Sir, Miriam Adeyemi owns 58% of Hawthorne Global." The words landed like a bomb. Laughter died. Champagne glasses froze midair. The bride's bouquet slipped from her fingers. Daniel staggered back a step. "That's not possible." Miriam reached into her worn jacket and pulled out a folded document. "It is," she said softly. "And this is your removal clause." The aftermath was brutal. By night's end, the wedding was over. By morning, Daniel was no longer CEO. The board acted swiftly, unanimously. Lawyers flooded in. Accounts were frozen. Authority transferred. Public statements released. Miriam returned home quietly. She did not attend the press conference. She did not seek applause. She had made her decision. Weeks later, Daniel stood outside her modest home, suit wrinkled, eyes hollow. She opened the door herself. "I'm sorry," he said. Miriam studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "I know," she replied, and closed the door. Power did not need forgiveness, only truth.